Hello and welcome back to the What Did He Mean by That podcast. We are joined today by Chris and Ashley Callie, Jon North, and Chris Heimerly. Join us as we discuss Pastor Jon North's message from this previous weekend.
I mean, we did have a new youth pastor in town.
Yep.
He just got hired at one of the local churches, preach at Northside this weekend.
We were so blessed to have him as a guest speaker for us.
Yeah, I was glad to be here.
Now, I guess my first question for you is, how does it feel when you watch yourself on a video introducing yourself and saying, let's listen to pastors preaching?
I think that's when you know you've made it. when you segue yourself into your own sermon.
You are so big. You're so big in the region that you're actually videotaped to segue yourself into your own sermon.
Yeah, we did, no one else would have been able to do you justice.
No one could have lived up to that type of hype. So, there's only one man for the job, and I was it. So,
I think it was a really timely message, especially with the series that we're in on, how does it really, we're talking about finding our purpose, live on purpose, and evangelism and sharing the word. I actually liked how you went to the foundation as opposed to just coming with practical tips.
right.
Because you have to have that foundation of your relationship with Christ. And it went really well with what we've been talking about. We're talking about cultivating our relationship with Christ and cultivating our relationship with each other. In your life, what's one of the principal ways that you do that? Like, you spend time with Jesus?
Yeah, that's a good question. Because I think it has to, right? It has to come from, like I kind of mentioned it near the end of the sermon, of like, I am very practical, like love to look at those types of things, but I think it's something that it's continuing to, like, if I don't have Jesus, all those things are going to be empty anyway. I think for me, time in the Word's always been like one of the easiest of just, loving the Word, consuming the Word, being able to just stay in that. And I think for me, like the older I get, especially with kids where life gets busier, you don't have like those pockets of time that are just with emptiness, right, of nothing to do. So I think just learning to like talk with God throughout your day, right, of just kind of, Paul talks about praying without ceasing. And for a while I was like, man, what does that look like? But I think just like walking with the Lord throughout the day, continuing to just kind of keep him in the loop, right? Of just, hey, this is where I'm at, times of reflection, times of looking to him. I think those are kind of two of the biggest things for sure.
I think the biggest thing that taking the foundation first, that's kind of what you did. The foundation is your relationship with Jesus. All these guys looked at the apostles and said, hey, they've been with Jesus because of what's going on in their lives. And I think taking that foundation like you did, it protects from evangelism becoming a means by which we try to please God and gain merit with God. And I know when I was young, that's really how I felt. Like, right. I felt like if I didn't confess him before others, he wouldn't confess me.
Yeah, share that Facebook post or he'll leave you at the gate.
It was more evangelism out of fear.
Right, yeah.
As opposed to duty, as opposed to evangelism as a pouring out of my relationship with Christ to the world around me.
I think the biggest part is with the pouring out too, because evangelism also, like you're saying, can become my own merit, or I'm bringing someone, and it becomes very self-focused instead of Jesus-focused, right? Where I like how you did, no, we have to know who Jesus is, and like you just said, Chris, and that's the outpouring that we can't help but share who he is, and it's not for anything that we do or earn or grow in, but just because we love him and we've seen how he's transformed our lives, so we want to be that witness to others. And when that's your motive, it helps you in evangelism too, because we're just planting the seeds. It's not our job to change their hearts, and we have to know that and understand that when we're doing that.
Yeah, I think we've talked about this a few times over the series, and I think the way that my mind's wired, it's just like, just tell me what I have to do, right? Like, I just want to get X, Y, and Z done, and then I can move on to the next thing, get that done, which really, having faith is like, it's more concerned about who you're becoming than what, like, doing this. So it's, Because at what point does that end, right? I got to share the gospel with this. I got to join a life group. I got to serve. I got to attend church. I got to pray. I got to read scripture, which is all parts of your faith. Like it's how you live out your faith, but it's not to gain God's approval or gain God's pleasure or blessing in your life.
Well, I like how you said that, Chris. It's what you're becoming. It's what you're becoming as opposed to what you're doing. As you become something, it causes you to do things differently, but the becoming has to come first.
Yeah.
Right.
Like you, and that's the point of, I think, John's message is your relationship with Jesus is how you become that evangelist. So some of us, I'm one of them. It's very difficult for me off a pulpit to be an evangelist. But yet the more and more I just become a Christian by being in relationship with Jesus, there's a natural outflow that I start to become a witness. Now there's still things we still need to speak,
Right,
and we
right.
still need to, there are practical things, but you can't do the practical things without the becoming first.
Yeah, exactly.
So John, you have a class coming up about some of those practical stuff, right?
Yeah.
You want to share a little bit about that?
Yeah, for sure. So yeah, Pastor Scott and I, we're going to take about 6 weeks as our goal and just kind of walk people through those practical things, right? People that have, feel like I have no ability to be an evangelist at all. I have no idea what that even looks like. Or maybe someone that just wants kind of like a refresher. It's like, hey, I feel like I kind of work in that gifting and I would love to kind of just be equipped with some tools. So I think this is going to span for no matter who you are. I think you could walk in. And the real hope is to help people be equipped with their testimonies, right? I think that's like one of the easiest and best ways to share your faith is just like, what's your story? Like, what's God done in your life, right? What's beautiful about that is that there's really no like right or wrong there, right? It's just like, that's your story, right? And we can use it. So I think that's going to be a big component of it is to kind of help people identify their stories, help them to kind of, people know their story because they lived it, but how do we kind of package that together that can be kind of presented? And then the kind of subtitle is, just looking, and we're going to be using a book that's titled exactly that, Turning Everyday Conversations into Gospel Conversations. Super simple, straightforward, easy. We look at the 3 circles component that's really popular as well. But there's going to be other tools that we're going to have as well, just to see, hey, like what's your fit? Like it's not always a one size fits all, and so it'll be like a really nice, laid back, not like a high pressure of just we're forcing people to get up and share a 10-minute message with everyone. We're just going to really ease people in, equip them with what tools they need, and then to give people an opportunity to kind of share and start to kind of get used to that, right? In like a safe environment, so that we're ready to kind of go out at times. And again, it's not, all right, you did the class, now go stand on the corner and here's a sign and yell at people, right? But it's just kind of going through the rhythms of life. And just, I think when we're intentional with just saying, okay, I want to be intentional with sharing, we don't have to really go out of our way to do it. It's just being more aware of what's happening around us. There's opportunities all around us. We just don't always capitalize on them, I think. So that's going to be kind of the heartbeat of the class. I think it's going to be really fun. I know that's what, like Scott and I know evangelism can sometimes be like daunting or nerve-wracking. I know Pastor Scott and I, like our hope
like
is
the
just
thing I'm supposed to do, but I'm not doing it.
Right. Again, feeling guilty or pressured, like, all right, I guess I'll come, and you just kind of feel bad about it. But just where we'll laugh, enjoy, look at what God's done in our lives and just kind of look to see how can we share that.
And it's articulating it. I mean, it's once you articulate it, it changes. There's something that changed because you may think of it in a different way, and you've never actually said it, and you've never actually thought about it in that way. And I think it does a couple things. It deepens your relationship with Jesus just by articulating it.
Yeah, reflection, right?
Yeah. And again, I like how you were saying it because it isn't something crazy and different. It's just being yourself. It's your story.
Right.
So how easy is it just to talk to people?
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not, you're just telling people what's happened to you, really. And that's what Peter was doing.
Yeah.
Right.
When Peter got up and preached, he didn't like study the Old Testament and have a 3-point sermon.
Right.
He got up and just talked about his experience and the fact that he was with Jesus.
Yeah, yeah. It's as simple as that,
Yeah.
right? He didn't have to have some big breakdown of the commentary of the Old Testament. It's just like, hey, this is what Jesus has done in my life, and I
Yeah.
want to share, right? And how can anyone object to that, right?
You guys crucified him. I mean, like you said, I liked how you kind of brought it to the timeline. Like the people are standing right in front of him.
Right.
Hey, you guys crucified him. God raised him from the dead. He's the Messiah. I mean, you really want to break down. What were the points that you said? Because they were really good. They identified the problem. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
I thought that was really helpful too.
The steps of, let me pull that back up.
For all those listening, he's doesn't have it memorized. He's looking
Scrambling.
it up on his phone.
What
so.
a poor preacher.
No, but I thought that was really good when you had said that. And while you're looking that up, I know one of the things that stood out to you, Ashley, was the baking bread. That was a
Yeah,
big...
you had this analogy of, you're always doing for everyone else, especially I can speak as being a mother, right? But you're not pouring into yourself. And I think there's importance in doing both, but primarily we should be, like you said, with Jesus and focusing on Jesus. And when he's first, well, one, you're better able to outpour to others without feeling that pull. But secondly, it's just so important. And it also reminds me what you were just saying with Peter's such a great example of sharing his faith and how he did that, because I think part of telling your story is so many people think, well, you don't know what I've done, or you don't know my story.
But that's your story.
Peter denied Jesus 3 times. That is part of his story. And because of that, he can speak so much more boldly because he sees what Christ has done for him. That those are parts of your story that may be uncomfortable and hard to share, but more often than not, when you share those hard parts is when someone in the room with you is, wow, I went through that.
That's
People
exactly how God-
run from shame.
Yeah,
Their
it's exactly
shame.
how God uses those situations in your life, which is why I love this weekend too. How we had the men and women's table in the lobby. It's just like that's a way for you to eat bread, right? Like that in that analogy is just like, come on, like that's a way for you to grow in your faith and take time for yourself and yourself as in the aspect of learning the word and pouring into yourself. So I'm glad the great weekend to do that, to just share that. Yeah, it's important to cultivate your faith.
And the analogy was the starving baker. He's baking for everyone, but he's never taken any time to eat himself. And I think, for a lot of people might be listening too, that all you're doing all the time is serving. And some people get into a point in their life where, they're serving in the kids ministry. They're serving, doing this, they're serving, doing that. And they all of a sudden they realize, heck, I haven't sat in a service and listened to the preaching of the word and prayer and worship in weeks. And that's not a good thing. Like, I know we're talking about, what are we doing for Jesus? A lot of what we're talking about in the series is doing, but we can't forget the principal thing we need to do is be with him. It's kind of that Martha Mary analogy too.
Yeah, and I think exactly that, because even when we're serving in those ways, maybe we're even, again, to continue to use the analogy, giving out bread, but like, where's the quality at that point too, right? Where it's like, maybe you can continue to maintain what you're doing, right? You're serving in all these areas, but the best ministry that we're going to do is the ministry that's going to flow from Jesus, right? So if we haven't been with him, what we're even giving out, it's going to be stale bread. It's going to be moldy bread. Maybe we're still pumping that out, but it's not going to be to the quality that we should want, let alone what God really expects from us. I think the sequence of events you're talking about of obedience, right? Everything flows from obedience, right? They are obedient, miracle, preaching, thousands saved, jail, boldness under pressure. Was that the sequence you're talking about? Yeah, I think that really everything flows from obedience, right?
Yeah.
Then we see the miracle, then we see the preaching. Again, just such a beautiful picture to see that amount of people come forward and in that kind of tense situation, thousands saved, right? They go to jail, and then the boldness under pressure.
Yeah. And it's to remind, when we look at Acts, it's like this is the process of how God was just working in their lives. And in a sense, it's no different than your life. Like God is working in your life to create a story that will glorify him. And I would end it with this, like, because I think it's important. Don't be ashamed of your past, your past failures, your past sin. It is all a part of your story. And your story includes your past. Your past has made you the person that you are today.
Yeah.
You wouldn't be the person that you are today without those experiences, and you wouldn't know the grace of God without the forgiveness and the restoration in spite of those experiences. So let your story shine, because that's what stands out to someone.
Yeah.
Someone, a changed life is the example that is a witness for Christ. It's not a perfect life. That's no one's story. So, I loved it, John. I think your class on MBI, I would just encourage, everyone to check that out and learn how to articulate your story and be a witness for Christ.
Thank you guys for listening to the What Did He Mean by That podcast. We hope the conversation today was informative and encouraging for you. We invite you to attend services here at Northside this weekend at 6 p.m. on Saturday and 9 and 11 a.m. on Sunday. See you there.